Hello and welcome to TCS Podcast, where we are dedicated to helping you achieve extraordinary growth and success by supplying you with the tools, resources, and support necessary to not only build profitable businesses, but to create a lasting impact on your families, companies, and communities. I'm Eric Guy, Director of Learning and Development at TCS. Joining me today is one of our very own beloved long-term TCS members, Mr. Ryan Austin. Thanks for being here, man.
What's up, buddy? It's great to be here. I love doing these things, man. I love getting on. I love sharing some wisdom that I've gotten from people over the years, and ultimately, it's great to share anything that I can do to help anybody else win.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about a big topic right now that you've really worked on, but that you've also helped others work on as well, which is creating a culture, but more on purpose, not being intentional about it and things of that nature. But just give us some background for you. I mean, you're the president of BSI Paving, but what do you guys do? Like for the other contractors?
So my brother and I started this company in 2004 with a vision, and the vision was to obviously be the best bosses in the world and really just create an environment, a safe place, and really just a winning atmosphere. So I think the biggest thing is what BSI out here in Michigan does is we're a full service asphalt and concrete company, and we do a little bit of dirt work, a little bit of underground, but ultimately we are a preferred asphalt and concrete company in the state of Michigan. We're not a big company, but not a little company. We're just one of those guys that everybody sees every once in a while, and it's like the Cheers theme. Everybody knows your name, but do they? So I think the biggest thing is for us is like we have a lot of people know us, but we're not that big. So it's just creating a culture of recognizing that we're out there, and to be honest with you, there's a buzz, and I think that's the good buzz. It's a buzz of winning. It's a buzz of happiness, fun, and I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it right now.
So let's start with a kind of a teaser here, and I'm gonna say BSI doesn't just build roads; they build legacies, and it all starts with culture, right? You're a big culture person, and again, I want to preface this to say that neither you nor I have this figured out. That it took a long time. It did not happen overnight, and I think you're going to share that. But you really believe in creating a culture.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is when you're winning, culture's good, and when you're losing, culture suffers. And I think that's the biggest team. And so like we really preface this as a Super Bowl. We're going after a Super Bowl, and in order to win the Super Bowl, you have to have the best of the best, and you have to have the best of the leadership ability. You don't have to have the best players. You just have to have the people that buy in, that want to be the best. And I look up. I'm a Detroit guy now, and I really look up to Dan Campbell on this aspect. Is like this guy is telling people what he's going to do, but he's not just telling people, he's doing it. And so like for me, culture is all about people and pouring into people and getting people to win at a high level and getting people to see things that they never expected in their life. And so for me, like culture, as we grow, we're 50 plus employees now, and ultimately we're going to be at 100, 150, 200 eventually. But is we have to make sure the people are first, and we're growing our people. We're setting expectations. We're making sure that they're winning, because ultimately, like I said, the first is like, if you're not winning, your culture is dying. And so people want to win at a high level. So are you creating the best team for your company?
And what was the process of your core values? I mean, did you just rip them off the back of a cereal box, or
yeah?
What?
So in the beginning, we wrote them on a napkin, and we said, this is what our expectations are as core values. We came up with 3. We put it on a shirt, put it on the wall, and we just We just left it there. We really didn't do much. It was like, okay, integrity is one of them because we are very, we're very, loyal. We do things when people aren't watching. We do all these things. A family was one of them. We were preaching family. We were doing all the things that family people do in business, and it was all about culture. So we're putting in all these things, but there was no like grit. There was no expectation. There was no like roadmap of like, what are these things? Like, what are we doing with these things? So I think the biggest thing is like making sure that people were involved in those core values. So like for our leadership team, we met and we did an 8 weeks every single week, and we met and we went over like what our expectations are in a company and what they want to see. And you know what really core values are really made for is core values are made for the things that you're struggling in your company, the things that you're faltering, the things that you're lacking. And ultimately you put those core values, you put expectations on those core values. Now the lacking turns into a different thing. It turns into getting better day by day, because ultimately you said in the beginning, it's like, this is not something that I'm perfect at. But I'll tell you right now, we work on it really hard every single day. And if you're not working on it every single day, what happens is you're not winning. So you literally falter. So like before, we had all these, these words on shirts and our literature and all this other stuff. But were we really acting them? Were we really doing them? Did people even know about them? Or did they just see it on their shirt and they say, well, that's the core values, but I really don't know anything. So now we're educating people, we're explaining to people, and ultimately, I'm not the one that's just doing it. It's everybody. It's all leadership are actually developing these things, and they're actually bringing it out, and they're the ones that are setting the expectations. So if you get people involved in your company to do this, they're more bought in. They have purpose. They say, you know what? I was a part of that. And when people are a part of something greater than themselves, that's a winning at a high level. And I think that's where people are missing the boat. Is people think, well, you know, Ryan told me I had to do core values. Well, if you have no meat and potatoes with those core values, what happens is they're just core values. They're just set up on a wall and they do nothing. Ultimately, it's an attractor, but when somebody comes into your company, if you're not living those core values, that new employee is going to say, this company's a joke. They're not living their core values, so I'm just going to leave and go to another company. People are trying to find a home. People are trying to find a place to call family. People are trying to call a place where, hey, I want to be a part of this, and I want to just retire here, and I want to be happy every single day. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're bringing. Ultimately, if you want to be a part of something greater, this is what has to happen, and that's the expectation. And if we hold that expectation, we're not going to get people in our company to say, well, this is what I know, this is all I'm going to do. No, we're going to expect more out of that person. And I think that's what's great about this is like you get people that are doing things that they never ever thought they could do. You got generational shifts changing because of one decision they made. You are one decision. This is Ed my let's go. You're one decision or one conversation away from changing your life. Now, if you were at an asphalt company and a concrete company and you shifted and changed, and now you're not here, you're here. That's a changer. That's a generational change. That's a life-changing thing. And that's ultimately what people are seeking. They're seeking something that they can go to work and they can enjoy it. And if they have that expectation to get better, now they're elevating even higher, because when people do things and they feel good about themselves and they win and they get better at things, they feel good about themselves. And if they're doing that on a continuous basis, it's automatically going to shift the narrative. It's ultimately going to go up. Now, you might get a bump in the road and you might have an issue and you falter a little bit, but ultimately the team helps you get back up and rise. So those are pretty much that's kind of what really sets the bar with the culture is like it's not just something that you can do on the weekends, or it's not just something you can do, hour here, hour there. It's a life that you have to live, and you have to stick to that life.
What was like you had this company, you threw a couple things on the wall, you said, but what was the turning point for you that made you actually say, we need to define our culture more intentionally?
So, so about 4 years ago, and this is kind of the shift. I was really just coming to work. I was really unhappy, and we were doing good, but I hired the wrong people. And when I hired the wrong people, I got myself in a situation of fear. And this is going to really resonate with a lot of people is because people want to grow, they want to be bigger, and they want to get better, and they want to get better employees, but ultimately, you know, it gets away from you quick. Culture gets away from you quick, man. It's like if you don't have a vision or a forecast of where you're going, because I didn't know anything. I was like, you know what, we're going to do this. Well, 4 years ago, I fired every single salesperson in this company.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, that was a real life change because I felt like I didn't know what to do. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to leave it up to God, and God's going to provide for me because this is what's right. And so I had a salesman that was 30 plus years in the business, great guy, but just had a lot of bad habits. He got me. I will never say anything bad about this guy because this guy got to me to where I was today. And I still tell him this because I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for him. So ultimately, there's people that are in your life for, maybe a reason, maybe a season, or maybe a lifetime. And this guy was in my life for a reason and a season. And what I mean by that is like I got to see what I didn't want in my vision for the forecast of the company. So ultimately, yes, he got me where I needed to be, the foundation and everything like that, but the foundation was crumbling because I built it on quicksand. So ultimately, I had a salesman that was a car salesman that just wanted to make a deal, but didn't want to create those relationships. And ultimately, I was all about relationships. That's what I did forever. I did that since day one. So, people are going to resonate with this. Is for 15 years, everything was great. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to put down the seal coating and the repairs, and I'm going to focus on paving. And the paving is a whole different ballgame. People are like, oh, I do seal coating, I do repairs, so I can get into paving. Well, dude, it's a whole different dynamic. It's a lot more employees, a lot more money. So I was feared. So I got in this business and I got all these guys, and now I'm doing 12, $15 million a year. And ultimately I'm like, okay, well, if I don't do that, I'm going to lose my company. If I don't pay the bills, I'm going to do this. How am I going to do this? You know what I did? I humbled myself and said, you know what, Ryan, you're just going to go out and do whatever you can do. You're going to go out and sell. You're going to do whatever you can. And you're going to start hiring for character. You're going to start building your team around what you did in the beginning to make you so successful. You're going to start putting more emphasis into people. And what I did is I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. God put a couple people in my life that changed the directory. I have a head sales guy. A lot of people know him, Jeremy Coaches in the industry. He is the rock. He came at the lowest point. He helped me grow, and he helped me see where the vision is going for BSI. So ultimately it shifted. And then guess what happens? When that shifts, other things shift. Other people come into my life. Things are starting to shift because ultimately I didn't do it by myself anymore. I said, you know what, God, you're going to do everything. I'm going to put my faith in you. I'm just going to do it. You tell me, you put people in the right position. You bring the people to me because I trust in you. And so when I started doing that, people started coming into my life. And then it made me almost revitalized again. It was like almost like overnight. It was like I loved it again. I loved being here. I loved enjoying it. The people were coming in. I was hiring people. But ultimately, I had no vision still. So I had to create the vision for these people because all these good people are coming into my life. But ultimately, I know where I'm going, but it wasn't written down. So I had to write down my 10-year vision for these employees to be able to not sell them, but give them hope to where we're going in this company. Because hope has a lot to do with culture. Like if you have no hope, you're not winning. So if you have no hope, what happens is people lose hope. They just get complacent. They go down. And so for me, I have to give hope to every single person that they can change, and they can change the directory of their family, their kids, their generations, everything. I had to give people hope. And I had to say, like I said in the beginning, Dan Campbell, that's what Dan Campbell did 4.5 years ago. He came on and said, guys, I still remember the speech is like, guys, I love you. I'm going to do whatever it takes. This is where I'm going to be. That's what I had to do. I had to say, listen, this is my vision. This is what I have to do. This is where I'm going. Do you want to be a part of this? Just trust me. I get emotional about it because it's like, you have to trust in something. Mm-hmm. So like I had my orientation this year and I said, it was the first year that I felt really good. And when I went in the room, I felt good with what the team that we, drafted. I call it Super Bowl winning. We drafted people. We had this. Everybody showed up. First year in history, everybody showed up to orientation. And I told you this earlier in a conversation, but we went through this process of like, this is what our expectations are. And when we had that room, everybody was there. And it was like, this is exactly, we set the table. Now what are we going to do with the table? Are we gonna eat? Are we gonna eat scraps? Are we gonna eat steak? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? We want to win. How are we gonna do this? And so I really just started sharing the vision and doing things and really just dissecting. And with our leadership team to help me, they now were bought in. So now they're helping me build this culture. And so it's not just me, because ultimately, if you're doing a culture by yourself, you'll never win, because ultimately it has to be everybody. Everybody's got to be bought in. So I know I could talk about that for a long time, but I want to take a break and have you ask a question, because ultimately culture is hard work. Mm-hmm. So if you don't put the time in, it will crumble quick.
Yeah, and you actually have gone another step, and you have a culture contract that you go, and this happens at onboarding, and I love it, right? Because the expectations are up there. They're right in front of you. You not only do that, here's what we expect of you. You also go one step further, which I think is great. And this is what you should expect from us. Like this is a two-way street. What happens like when you do that and when you start measuring culture the way you measure production?
Well, people like to be on a winning team. Okay. And I said in the beginning is if you're not winning, your culture is dying. And so for me, like I had to ask my superintendents, my PMs, and all my foremans, I'm like, man, why aren't we winning? Why are we not winning at a high level? And we came up with a list. And that list stated 7 things that we were failing at every single day. And I'll name one because this is going to resonate with a lot of people. It's like being on time. It might not sound, maybe 5-10 minutes, it might not sound bad, but when you have a crew of 10 people, or you have a crew of 5 people, or you have a crew of 15 people on a job, what happens is now you're making 14 people late to that job. And ultimately, that job has a dollar amount to it, and it has a labor amount to it. And that labor amount equates to so many man hours. And if we have 15 people not showing up on the job because one person's late or 5 people are showing up, that takes away from that amount. Okay. Now, when you're not making that profit on each job, what's happening is people are saying, well, why aren't we making money? Why aren't we getting our bonuses? Why don't we do this? Well, if you're late 100 times a year and you're not doing anything about it, can you imagine how many good employees you're scaring off? Can you imagine how so the problem wasn't in the people. The problem was in the management and us holding people accountable. So we saw that. So it's like, okay, well, here's 7 things that we cannot do. We have to make sure we do these right. And so like we had leadership say, these are the 7 things that are costing us the most money. Well, how do we fix that? Well, the expectation now is these things, you do these things or you're not here. This is not a negotiable thing. You can't just do 3 of them. You can't just do 4. You have to do all of them. So if you're not good at being on time and you can't be here, guess what? You won't be here very long. So that's the expectation. So when we started putting the expectations in of what we expect, we started developing. It's like now we don't have a people problem. We don't have a people problem because we'll get employees. The problem is we have to make sure they're the right people. So if we don't put the right people on the bus or the boat, what's going to happen is they're going to put a lot of holes in it and we're going to sink, and we're going to spend more time plugging those holes as we go, and we're barely floating, which I'd rather be up on top and making sure there's no holes and we're actually going upstream and we're flying. That's the key, is making sure that we're at a higher level. So I didn't do that. I didn't make these expectations. I set the vision for them, but the expectation was why are we losing? So this is all brought up by superintendents, PMs, and then foremans and leadership, is like making sure that we're doing things the right way.
So here's a question, because yes, people some people listen to this kind of thing and go, "Oh, yeah, 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 lip service, lip service, lip service." But you've made even the challenge to people like, "Hey, come and see. Like we're doing this again, not perfect, but hey, we're making this happen." How do you make these kinds of things feel like a real commitment?
So a good example is, and I tell the story a lot, is like we have a new sales guy that's been here a month, and he came in the first day, and he literally told me, he goes, "Why is everybody so happy around here?
Yeah,
Why is everybody smiling? This is different. This company is different. When people walk in our front door, our customers, they have a feel like this is their place. This is their family. That's a difference. That's a game changer. Now, when you do that at a higher level, what happens is now you create a safe work environment, a safe place, and people are happy around here. You'll never work a day in your life if you love your job. And so for me, it's like I want people like I literally this guy, every time I walk in, he has this big smile on his face. And I look at him and I smile at him. And he goes, dude, at the company and I won't name any names, but the company I was at down the road, there was nobody ever smiled. Nobody ever said hi. Everybody just did their job and they get yelled at. When they get yelled at, they have all these meetings. They're just so infatuated with everything going on. They don't even care about anybody but themselves and they just do their job. That is an unsafe work environment. So like when I say I don't have a people problem, dude, I tell people, I challenge people, come in this door, literally walk in this door. And if you can't feel it in 30 seconds to a minute, I'd buy you lunch. Put it that way, because ultimately every single person, you know what? A couple of my customers said they went with me because when they came here for a meeting, I greeted them. I greeted them at the door. Most bosses, this is what they said. Most bosses, when I do work with them, they sit in their office, they make me wait for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they take me, and I feel I'm not important. That's a difference maker. It's making sure the culture, everybody, like if I'm doing that, everybody's doing that. And so for me, it's a simple thing like when I see a trash, okay, and I see it's to the top, and it's 4 o'clock, and everybody's leaving at 4 o'clock. How many people are going to walk by that trash can before they empty it? Nobody here. I'll tell you right now, every single trash can before we leave at the end of the day is empty. You know why? Because that's the culture. That's the shift. That's the narrative. Because guess what? They don't do it because I expect them to do it. They do it because I do it. I make sure I'm the example, and then everything trickles down. So that's why it's so important to have a good leader in place. And it doesn't have to be the CEO, it doesn't have to be the president, but it has to be somebody that's setting the expectation and somebody that's living it out and doing it on a continual basis. So that trash thing, that happens on a continual basis here. And I'm proud of that. And it's just trash. It's just trash. But here's the thing: the expectation is like my controller comes up to me and she says, "Hey Ryan, I emptied your trash last night. I know you had to leave, but I wanted to make sure that I emptied your trash." So they tell me this, like, and I say, "You didn't have to do that." And they're like, "No, the expectation is this." They say it. They say it out loud. And when everybody's doing that, it doesn't. It's now just a part of the day, and it's not even that I'm telling them to do this or I'm doing. They just do it because that's the expectation.
Mm-hmm. Um, a lot of companies give a lot of lip service and they say that people matter. At BSI, how do you actually make them feel?
It's one of my favorite core values. It's empathy. I when I do everything out of love. And guess what? I'm the first person to apologize when I'm wrong. So guess what? As a leader, I'm not this holy grail. So if I make mistakes every day. Everybody makes mistakes. If you say you don't make mistakes, you're a liar. I make mistakes all the time, but it's how I make those mistakes and how I react to them. Like if somebody brings me something and I react to it, guess what? I'm not a good leader. The expectation is everybody has to have empathy in this company. Everybody has to have understanding. Everybody has to understand that, hey, you might have some stuff going on at home. That's okay because we're here together to get through that. So that's what I believe separates ultimately myself from everybody is like, I will sit there and listen to anybody. my door is open 24/7. Not many CEOs and founders will have their door open. They have to have half the CEOs probably don't even know the employees' names. I know their names. I know their kids' names. I know what they do. I know what they like. I know what makes them tick. Jamie, my controller, said this to me. She goes, Ryan, she goes, how come you still do all the gifts? She's like, I can take that over for you. I go, because I know what every single person loves in their life. So I make it a point to write cards out. I make it a point to do a Bible verse. I make it a point to pray for these people. I make it a point to give them something that they enjoy. They don't tell me, I watch. That's about people. Because ultimately, if you're not doing that, you're missing the ball. Because you're not about people if you're not doing those things. Those things are so crucial. So, like, if you say if the vibe is culture, 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 and then you don't put your people first, you have no culture. Because ultimately, with no people, you have nothing. With the people, you can grow. Ultimately, that's the key. Making sure that you have those things. So people, they mean more than anything. That's all I care about is the people. So I want to know them. I want to know their everything about them. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know how they work. What's a trigger for them? What do they listen? I asked the guy a year and a half ago. I said, man, you've been working really hard. What do you want to do at the end of the year? Like, what is your goal? And he goes, I just want to take my family on vacation. And I said, well, how do you do that? And he's like, well, I see if I have enough money at the end of the year and I take him on vacation. I said, listen, we're gonna dissect this. What's a good vacation for you? Where do you want to go? Oh, I want to go to Florida. Okay, well, do you want to stay in a hotel? Do you want to rent a house? What do you want to do? I want to rent a house. Okay, well, do you want to go to Universal Studios? Okay, well, here's a dollar amount that we're going to work together. We're going to figure out what it's going to cost, and we're going to put that dollar amount in a savings account every single week. And we're gonna help you through this. And what's going to happen is now at the end of the year, you're going to see that the vision, forecasting the vision for your employees. Because ultimately, if I didn't do that at the end of the year, he doesn't do that. Guess what happens? He gets resentful. I can't afford it. What did I do wrong? Well, ultimately, sometimes you have to give them the roadmap to running the play to be able to win at a high level. And I think that's what's key.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if people say they're about people and they don't give you that comment,
yeah,
I'm going to call them a liar because they don't care about people. They only care about themselves and their dollar amount. Because ultimately, money doesn't drive me, people drive me. When seeing people succeed, buying their first house, getting sober, being sober 900 days is the most accomplishment that I can see. That's the key. That's the motivation.
Good stuff. You ready for these? I got some rapid fire questions for you. So
I'm ready.
I think I got 7 here for you, Ryan. You ready?
Yep.
Best culture move you ever made?
I showed up.
Oh, I love that answer. Okay.
If you don't show up, you don't have a culture. Because too many in owners, I want culture, but they don't show up.
What's one thing contractors should stop doing if they want a better team?
Treating their people second. You have to put your people first 100%. I say it all the time, people first, people first. And believe it or not, people believe it here.
Mm-hmm. That's good. What's one book every leader should read?
I like the Culture Code because I just read it. I actually read it twice. It's funny that, it's all about repetition. It's all about doing the right things. It's all about people. It's all about doing those little things. And it's just having the trust. So my people have to trust me, and I think that book goes into a really good depth of trust.
What's a non-negotiable for your culture?
If you don't have character and integrity, you won't be here.
Yeah, I love that one. What's a small win that made a huge difference at BSI?
I get teary-eyed about this. Watching people get sober.
Good stuff.
It's huge. we have a program here that we will make sure that we help you. I put a lot of people through rehab.
Wow.
I've failed on 3. I've won 4. That's a win.
Yep. That's a good win. It's a great win. Congratulations.
Thank you. And they're all here. And they're great. And they've changed the narrative.
Yep.
They've changed. They've literally changed the generation.
Yeah. Out of all your core values, which one's your favorite and why?
Well, I'm crying right now, so
yeah.
You know that it's empathy. I have empathy for people, and I think that's the key. People can sense that, and so when I come down on somebody, it's out of love. That's key. And the way I deliver it, but it's ultimately the empathy that I give people.
And the last one, what does creating culture on purpose mean in one sentence?
Well, I say it all the time. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I ultimately say that because that's culture. Showing up to work every single day, loving what you do, that's a culture.
That's good. Is that what you want to end on, or do you have any other comments?
I mean, ultimately, it's I could talk for days, but it's one of those things that, like, I truly believe that if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life, and you will give more out of yourself, because ultimately we work with our coworkers more than we see our kids and more than we see our wife. So ultimately, if you love that, you don't resent going to work. And when you don't resent going to work, that's ultimately creating the best culture on purpose, is making sure that you give a say. Why do people love Amazon? Why do people love all these places? Because when they go there, it's a fun work environment. It's a fun thing. Now, I'm not saying everybody loves Amazon, but that's what the expectations are. They got millions of employees, so they're not going to make everybody happy. But if you love what you do and you love and you go to work every single day, dude, it's a blessing. It's so awesome. And I love what I love seeing everybody every single day. I love, like, if I don't see people, I feel empty. So, like, my people I see every single day, I love that. I enjoy talking to people. I love asking them about what they did for the weekend. What did they do? How did they do it? Like, that's stuff that's not many owners do. And ultimately, if you have an owner doing that, that creates a safe work environment, and that creates a very safe haven. And that's why people love working with BSI. So I think that's an ending, is like, if anything, is if you don't believe it, apply and see if you can get in. And when you get in, it's going to change your life.
Good stuff. Thanks for being on. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate you being such a great member to TCS, and appreciate you being a friend now. I mean, you were one of the first people that I got to chat with a long time ago when I got invited to my first event. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
You have an energy, and I'm attracted to energy, and I think that saying is like, when you attract people, you've got a strong power. And I'm telling you right now, it's just you and I are a lot alike. We care about people. We care about helping. So, like, why wouldn't we be hanging out every single day? That's the circle. It's like, you want to be around people that are like you. And I think that that's what motivates us, is to be better people, is having better people around us to constantly create the waves. It's the ripple effect every single day. Now, if I'm in a bad mood, and you call me and you get me out of a bad mood in a couple minutes, that's what's powerful. And that's kind of what the circle does. Especially at TCS, is like, I know if I'm struggling, all I got to do is call one person, and after that phone conversation, I'm done.
Yep. Good stuff. Thanks again, Ryan. Appreciate you. That's all for today, folks. That's a wrap on the TCS podcast. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep winning. We'll see you next time.